Hello, I'm Matt and welcome to Badger Workshop. So now the basic structure's up. So the first thing I like to do is add the door. This is because obviously I'm going to need to get in and out the structure. If I get the door on first, then at least it can be watertight. So I get the breathable membrane cut open and then stapled in place, then I can trim off any excess. While I had the Stanley knife in my hand, I thought I'd cut the windows open as well. Here's Badger. I then need to seal it up with some flashing tape. With this stuff, it's the same principle as installed in the breathable membrane. You want to start at the bottom so each overlap goes over the previous bit so the water won't get in. This stuff's got like a kind of a tar back to it, but on a cold day it's not very sticky, so you have to get the heat gun out to warm it all up. It cuts very easy with a Stanley knife, so you can just fold it round corners. So I get this tape all round the door frame and round the window frames. When I framed these windows, I oversized them a little, knowing they'd have to accommodate this tape later. Now I can get these three frames I made earlier installed. You can see to the left I've already done the one for the door, and this is the first window, and then I've got one more window to do. So it's a nice snug fit initially because of the tape, but goes in nicely. I can then go around with a combination square and make sure the overhangs are the same all the way around. I want the overhang to be the same thickness as the cladding. I can drive some screws from the inside into all these frames. For the doors, I've got these nice big forged hinges. These should be nice and secure, and also they're going to be strong enough to hold the weight of the door. Unfortunately, they come with slotted screws, so it took me ages to get them all in. The door can then be positioned into the frame. I sit it on a couple of packers and then just screw it into the frame. I know it's going to fit perfectly because I built the frame around the door in part 2. So it's just a few screws through the hinge into the frame and then we're done. I'd never fitted uPVC windows before, but they came with some instructions, as poor as they were. You use some clear silicone to glue the sill on, and then you need to drill through and put a couple of screws, I think they were 40mm long, down through the sill into the frame. The sill has a couple of end caps which then just get held on with some more silicone. If you can see on the side of the window, it's kind of got that channel profile cut into it. That is what I'm going to use in a second. There are two ways to fit these windows. You can either take the glazing out, put screws through the frame of the window into the surrounding material, or you can go for method 2. If you can see on the side of the windows there's metal clips. Unfortunately my dad is helping again, this time by standing right in front of the camera. Anyway, those metal clips just snap into the side of the window profile and then you can put screws through them into the frame. Starting to spit with rain then, so I went into the garage to get on with some work. The next day I did go back and silicone in the windows, but I'm not sure I managed to film that. Anyway, what I'm doing here is making some corner pieces for the cladding. So I'm cutting down some battens that measure from the base of the workshop up to the ridge of the roof. They're pretty thin bits of wood, so I'm drilling pilot holes with a countersink bit, and then I'm putting some green outdoor screws in. And then get some PU glue on this and get this all glued and screwed together. I'm making 4 of these things, and what they are is for the corners of the workshop. I'm going to be using feather edge cladding, and I always think this is my preferred way of making the corners look neat. So this is kind of a block that sits on the corner, and then sticking out 90 degrees either side is a batten. It has a batten each side that the cladding sits on, and then the bit in the middle is the width of the cladding. It's really hard to explain, or I'm just really bad at explaining it. But you can kind of see what the shape is here, and you'll see it go on in a bit, and hopefully when the cladding goes on it all makes sense. So I've pre-drilled some holes and half got some screws in so I could just hold it up and then drive the screws in. Of course, when I put the screws in the garage I didn't think about the overhang of the roof. This is why I find planning ahead doesn't always work, because when you actually get to the situation, what you thought about isn't going to work. So I cut all the battens to the same length and then I can just work my way around the workshop attaching them. I haven't really planned kind of an even spacing, I just start with the ones that are obvious. You have to have battens either side of the windows and doors, and then I just fill in any gaps. So now I can start getting the cladding on. I cut it down on the miter saw. First bit's easy because obviously it just lines up with the bottom of the workshop. The first few shepherd's huts I did with this cladding took me a few days to get clad, and that was just hammering it on by hand. I mean, I say by hand, there was a hammer in my hand, but this air nailer really sped things up. So when you get to the second course, I've got this block I made. One part hooks under the course below. Another case of not having enough hands, but I'm not moaning about it this time. Anyway, you get better at this as you go along. So it hooks under, I managed to hold it in place with my foot. The bit of cladding sits on top of that bit of OSB. You fiddle around for a bit, making it look much harder than you need to. And then you can grab the nail gun and get some nails in. And then do the same at the other end. This was the first bit of cladding I put up. If I'd filmed the very last bit of cladding I'd put up, I'd have made this look really slick. And actually the first row is hard because I can't hook it under there because of the paving slab, so you have to put it back in the middle. But you get the idea. Knocking up a couple of these jigs really makes it simpler, even if I am making it look hard. The back wall was by far the easiest to do. No windows, no doors, and the roof line is straight. And that really took no time to get up whatsoever. Plus, no one's ever going to see it. The front was a bit more complicated with the windows and doors, and I had to cut out a few notches for around the windows. The ends were harder to do as well, because obviously you've got the curved profile of the roof. I film doing that because it's hard to get the camera around. So with all the cladding on, that's basically the outside done. Next time we'll start work on the inside. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more videos.